It's another great day right here in Kasese District, Western Uganda, with great lakes. And Mr.
Farouk.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Farouk.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Can you tell us about what Great Lakes all about, what you do, your mission, whether it was created out of study, or you will tell us all that. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Great Lakes Peace Center was formed by a group of young people, and these young people were basically yearning to be a part of a solution to their local community. Kasese in particular has been a hive of repeated violences. We have had violences which are cross-border in Kasese. We have had local generated violences between intertribal clashes, ethnic minorities, and other problems of land, and so on. So these violences have been reoccurring until 2016, actually, when we had the palace attack on the king of Rwenzori. We began this initiative in 2015, and basically we wanted to bring up what we call involvement of young people in peace building traits. Why? Because young people are at the front line of all battles, of all violences. But when our leaders come to speak about peace and reconciliation, the young people are not on the table. It's the older people who shake hands and assume that everything is now fine. And then finally, the young people, who at the end of the day even become victims. Remember, there have been perpetrators in the beginning. They actually become even victims of the same conflict. That has been one of the biggest reasons for the occurrence of violence, and that is why actually we started this NGO. We registered as an NGO in 2020, so before that we were just a CBO, a local-based organization. I particularly worked with other NGOs before 2018. So during that time, we only used to do one-off events, but basically events in youth empowerment and peace building work.
Wow, that is really touching. But then, Mr. Farouk, I would like to know, do we have other NGOs around who are doing the same work like Great Lakes is doing?
We have a number of NGOs doing peace building work, but they are not doing what Great Lakes is doing. Great Lakes is doing what we call our theory of change is using the young person, giving them a platform to be able to speak for themselves and solve problems concerning violences. Of course, we use the word violence because we know conflicts can be there. Conflicts have no problem, by the way. Every home has conflicts. Every person's brain and mind has a conflict. Every nation has conflict. How we solve our conflicts is what has been the problem. Violence should never be a part of the solutions of solving conflict. So for us, we use young people. So our theory of change is having young people engaged to be able to be responsible and build their own peace. So the other organizations might be there. They might be doing a lot of good work. We partner with them. We work with them in several activities and programs. But our niche is the mobilization ability we have with young people. In every sub-county of Kasese, we have a youth group. We have a women group, which we work with, train them, build their capacity to be able to deliver the peace they need in their own communities.
Wow, I'm impressed by that, Mr. Farouk. And the question coming to right now, it's based on charities. Yeah, when you're doing your charities, do you solicit for funds? Let's say when you set the date, let's say next month end, we are going to visit the prisons, we are going to visit orphans and other widows. Do you solicit for funds? Do you call people out there to come and join you, or you do it all by yourself?
Thank you. Yes, we do. For example, on 27th of July, we already are in the trenches mobilizing resources for the World Hepatitis Day. Great Lakes Peace Center is one of the organizations in Uganda that are champions. And actually we were awarded by the Global Hepatitis Elimination, the Global Coalition for Hepatitis Elimination from the US. We were awarded for our work of championing the awareness and supporting communities to understand what hepatitis is and being able to seek out for treatment or even care. So, when we do our charities, what we do, one is we work through local organizations. We have organizations like Rotary. I happen to belong in a Rotary club locally, and the Rotary locally has helped us a lot to collect resources. The other charities we reach out to, of course, is we work with other Rotary clubs outside our district or outside Uganda, if you should say. And they have also been very, very instrumental. Actually, the first funding we received in our organization was from Rotary clubs. And that was the seed grant that we started with during the education project, which is one of our signature projects. And today we have more than 8 projects from several funders. So yes, we do use we use local and international support, but also what I shouldn't forget, we also do crowdfunding. So we also have platforms online where we subscribe, and because we have now got a following, when we post something like on Facebook, so many people are very fast to like it, to share it, and at the end of the day, you find we have sympathizers, we have people who understand what we do, and then they will give support to our projects. And one of them recently was the COVID support, which we were helping the elderly and people who are not able to move to go and get drugs. Those on terminal illness, terminal drugs. For example, if I'm supposed to be having my pressure or diabetes drugs every month, and the transport system is closed because of a lockdown, how do I access these drugs? So we had volunteers locally. We gave them motorcycles, fueled the motorcycles, and had them facilitated. On top of taking the drug from the health center to this person in the mountains, they also took some grains and some foods to help these people be able to live healthy.
I'm really happy to hear such from you. And right now, we are going to hear from you about the recruitment process among your staffs. Yeah, you know, normally they say Africa may be about corruption and all that. So you could be the director, your brother is a treasurer, your sister is a secretary and all that. How do you do how do you recruit? Do you put out some announcements that you need workers, or how do you do it? Or it is just you get workers within your circle? So we want to hear that, and we are all interested.
Thank you very much. Just to make sure I don't forget, I'll begin with the last thing.
Yeah.
On our website, it's very clear. If you go there and look at a page for wanting to join the team, you will see even the past recruitments, the past calls for volunteer interns, for staff, and so on. So that is to avoid doubt. Number 2, when we started, definitely we began with volunteers. We began with people who are willing to work with a passion and for free. And that is how we started. But as time went on, as we were able to pull some grants and projects which are able to raise salaries for some of these staff, they began earning a salary. Where we find a situation where we do not have someone in-house who can be able to execute this task, then we advertise and say we need an accountant. So when you're starting, you may not necessarily need an accountant when you're starting, because you're only going to be doing work for maybe $10 and running up and down. What is most important at that time is programming. But as resources come in, accountability becomes a very important component. So if I'm in programs work, I need somebody to support me in accounts work. So we usually put calls and have people interviewed. We still have a challenge because we do not pay what actually somebody should be taking home given their skills. We still have projects which only give you a contribution. to what would have been your salary. So if our HR policy says an accountant is supposed to earn 2 million Uganda shillings, which is roughly $500 US, we still pay about $200 US, which is very little, but also we say we are happy that we are able to pay that. So our recruitment plan, usually once we pass on the advert, we have even a committee which does that job. If we don't have the expertise to hire or to recruit or to interview such a skilled person, we even go out and look for an expert to come out and help us in the interview process. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Farouk, it's like everything about you and Great Lakes, it's all about professionalism, and I'm really loving it. So the next question to you is about, my next question is about accountability of funds. The funds you get from donors, from, how do you do? Because most of the times funds come in, but they just get lost within. Even they don't do the work they are supposed to do. Now for you, tell me or tell the world how you account for your funds that you receive from donors.
One of the biggest pride
Yeah.
that we stand our heads high for is that we are able to do the best of work using the minimum of resources. Because when we started Great Lakes Peace Center, we did not have the resources. Actually, the only resource we had with us was ourselves, was our time and ourselves. We began mobilizing people who were like us to put more hands to the job. Our first grant, like I told you, was a very small grant. We were running a support project. Actually, it was $200 US, and it was given to us through our Rotary Club in Kasese, and it was basically to support us in the mobilization of youth in the communities in our first project, which we dubbed the Culture for Peace. So our job was to go out in the community, look for younger people, listen to them, because we were not experts by then. We were just passionate people. Yes, no one had done peace building studies. No, I was a graduate of economics by then, but I was just having the passion. And at the end of the day, that grant pushed us to acquire another grant from an East African organization, which is a network organization for people living with HIV, and it was supporting a project called Her Voice, supporting youth to mobilize fellow youth, especially the young women, on issues of HIV, controlling, avoiding stigma, and so on. And we got a grant, that was our second one, which we usually called the first international grant, and it was $3,000 US. Yeah, actually it was $2,000 US. And we used that grant, and people who saw us around, running up and about, thought we had probably $1 million US. We had the best branding, the best publicity, the best media engagement. Why? Because we have young people who are in the media. We have young people working on radio stations. We have young people on televisions. We used them. We said, look, come here. Come and see what young people are telling. We had stories brought out. We still even have clips on our website from that kind of grant. And even the donors were like, did you actually have another donor who supported this same project, or it was only us? And we said it was only you. Unfortunately, they were not going to continue with the project, but they said if they had more resources, they would have wished to give Great Lakes Peace Center more resources. But we have now done bigger grants, because after that, most of us got interested in peace building work. I finally went out and did my master's degree in peace building and reconciliation from Winchester University in the UK. And we now have bigger grants. We have a grant supported by UN Women in a consortium. We have 4 organizations, Kasese, Chenjojo, Fort Poto, and Hoima. And what do? We support women groups to learn about conflict, be mediators, and be able to support their communities to avoid the congestion at local courts. So this project has achieved, because the cases we have registered through this project had not been registered before by local probation officers, by local LOC ones. So it has opened up people's minds. But what is most important, it has decongested the court system. So that is something we are proud about. And about accountability, specifically, we have given time to learning, to ensuring that there is institutionalization in the organization. One, resources cannot move into the organization without knowing from which channels are they coming from. Because that's very important. We are very keen with the issues of money laundering, so we do not want to be victims of that. Number two, if there is any money that is supposed to be put to use by anybody in the organization, there is a process, a very, very strict process, where requisitions and so on, and then approvals. But most importantly is accountability for actually what happens in the field. When people go to the field, do they meet the people we want to meet? So we are very deliberate. One, we have streamlined ourselves on 3 issues. The first major issue is climate. We have streamlined ourselves on that, and we are very sensitive about climate and environment. That explains why we're in such a serene environment. Number 2, we have streamlined ourselves with young people, youth, and that we cannot distance ourselves from. We have streamlined ourselves with issues of disability. Every meeting we have, as long as it is beyond 10 people, we expect to have 1% a disabled person. Yes, disabled person has to be a part of that meeting. A woman has to be a part of that meeting, and so on and so forth. So we ensure that at the end of the day, our logic framework, our theory of change is achieved through exactly what we do. So we don't talk about something here in the vision or mission, and then we find ourselves implementing something else. Yes. So we take accountability serious, and secondly, of course, we have a board. And our board is one of the tools that ensures accountability. Actually, just last week, we received our final audit report for 2021. So that is a system we have built, that every single year, we have to have an external auditor. We now even have a local volunteer who was given in time to do our internal auditing. So every 3 months we have a report to tell us something is going wrong. There is a problem here. Why are these things piling up in this way? Why isn't it like this? So we now got also internal systems to control that. So the board is there, the senior management is there, but also the staff are well trained and well equipped to do their job.
Thank you, Mr. Farouk. So my next question to you is about your charities. When you're doing your charities, is there like a specific things that you consider, or you just do it randomly, as in where people are in need? First, do you consider religion, tribe, age, gender, or someone's education? We want also to hear about that from you.
Yeah, one thing I want to distance ourselves from is one, we are a non-political organization. We are a non-religious organization, and we are not a racist organization. Yeah. We fight for rights of minority groups, which may also be racist in the world, but we don't necessarily mean that we are racist in that extent when we fight for a right of a minority group. However, our services can be selective in a way. Yes. Like you see in our vision, youth will be emphasized, underlined, and bold. Why? Because we know out there might be other organizations which are dealing with other people, elderly and so on. But for us, we say youth. Why? Because one, they are the biggest demographic group, not only in Uganda, in Africa.
Yeah.
And it is still growing. Two, they are engaged in most of the conflicts and violence in the African continent. Three, they have the ability to turn around Africa because of invasion, innovation, and technology. They are the people that have the smartphones, they have the knowledge. So we think the young people, if we just deal with the young people, it is a very critical mass that can turn around our world.
Yeah.
So, as we deal with the young people, we realize this big group of young people also has women, the young women. So, our second area is women. So, when you come to our meeting, for example, that we organize of 20, 30, 40 people, you will realize that actually, if not 50%, it will be 60% women, or young women for that case. And then youth will be there. But also among those two groups, these people with disabilities will have to feature into that group. So that is something we take very seriously. We might exclude, but we do not directly exclude, but also we have what we call an inclusion criteria, or the selection criteria. So, like I said, the two groups of youth and young women, also among them has to be a group of disabled youth and young women, so that we can be able to finish the cycle we talked about of aligning ourselves with those kind of issues that are present in our communities. Yeah.
So, right this moment, because this is a peacekeeping, and I would like to know, what have you done as in to promote peace building in the community or in the region?
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to say that one thing we believe at the Great Lakes Peace Center is that peace is not a mere absence of war. So in other words, we don't only have to wait for war to talk about peace. Peace is a complete transformation and way of life. Social justice issues, accountability issues, zero tolerance to corruption, good relationship with your neighbors, and so many other things. So, if you are not healthy, you cannot be peaceful. No. If you are hungry, you cannot be peaceful. So we use what we call the positive peace index. It is something that we got to learn again through Rotary, because they have a partnership with these institutions of peace, and also through their program. The masters I did in peace building was sponsored by Rotary. That was before I became a Rotarian. And one thing we are proud of is we are part of several groups, including national and international or regional forums, which support empowerment of young people to deliver on the peace agenda. And delivering on the peace agenda, you need to have a mandate. Where do you derive that mandate? One, we have the UN Security Council Resolution 1325, which gives women the prominence of saying they should be part of the people or of the forum or given space in conflict resolution and peace building work. We have also another Security Council resolution which I've forgotten, but also it specifically talks about youth and security. And also it has gone a long way. It is 2225, yes, Security Council resolution, empowering young people to be a part. Because we recognize young people are many, but also when you see war, count the people who have died in the war on the front line. They are young people. There's no old man. You will not find an old man. But who recruits the young people? It's the older people. So in other words, the day young people say we shall never go to the front line, war will cease, including the war in Ukraine. It's the young people who compose the national forces. It's not the old people. The old people are just generals, they're up there. But the younger people are on the front line.
Yeah, I'm getting your
Yes.
point.
So, in Uganda, we are part of the national task force for what we call the counter-extremism. It is under the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and we work with them. We have been designing action plans and strategies for Uganda to that extent. Regionally, we have collaborations with different organizations in Burundi, in Rwanda, in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Congo, especially in Congo, to see how we can be able to pool resources and work together. Because we as people who stay at the border here in Kasese, if anything happens in Congo, Kasese already, or Uganda, is answerable. Yes, and we have seen it happen. Recently you saw the influx of refugees. Recently you saw when Ebola outbreak comes out in Congo, even before. Already we have cases reported here because of our porous borders. So we are saying that we need to have what we call an umbrella and coordinated efforts between our own organization and organizations outside Uganda. We are also a part of a program which is supported by European Union. It is implemented by different donors, but we were called upon because we are in that area to be able to mobilize young people and bring them together and be able to fight for the peace they need. But in the Rwenzori region and in Kasese in particular, one, we have supported studies in peace building. And my own thesis, master's thesis, was basically investigating the role of religion in conflict resolution in the region. And that has helped us a lot. Actually, we have used most of the works from this study in Peace and Great Peace Center as an organization to be able to implement some activities and some programs to be able to see what kind of gaps there are to be able to facilitate peace building processes. The UN Women Platform has also helped us as a Great Lakes Peace Center to advance our call by enabling us have resources to assemble cultural leaders. In our region, culture is very important. Both the cultural institutions and religious institutions. So without them, we cannot have the assembly we need. We can't have people as fast as we need. And you know, sometimes some of the conflict merchants are cultural leaders. They may not be officially the institutions, but the cultural leaders. Some statements they may utter can make an eruption of a conflict. So, basically, what we have been doing in the region, as far as peace building is concerned, cuts through the real action of having dialogue, having mediation, but also goes through issues like fighting diseases like hepatitis B, which can be avoided, which can be immunized. And if you have a healthy life, then you're peaceful. So for us, peace is just an entire 360-degree check for livelihood.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm really liking your response about peacekeeping and peace building within the region. So, right this moment, I want you to open up to us and open up to me and everyone. Tell us about the challenges that you have faced ever since you started this good work.
Yes, as a grassroots, as an organization that is operating at grassroots and remains local, we have a big challenge of resource mobilization. Resource mobilization was never taken as a serious thing when we were starting, but we now find it a serious thing because we have to sustain what we have done. Sustaining what we have done and what we have so far will need a very big collaborative effort, locally, but also externally. So, the first thing that we think needs to be done is we need to have what we call capacity development for our entire staff, but also specifically for the fundraising or grants team. So we have that very big gap, which keeps us thinking. But also for us, we believe that it is a good challenge because it keeps us awake and it keeps us thinking. The second challenge is the issues of governance. We deal with governance issues. And anywhere in Africa, if you deal with something that touches someone's autonomy and power, or empowering people to better know their rights and be able to ask questions, you get into trouble. Actually, we have been assessed several times and asked actually what we do, who founded us, who supports us, but good enough. We always move smartly. We are always on top of our game. We are always registered. If we are bringing in a volunteer, they are well documented. So that is another challenge that we keep on facing. We try our best and we work actually with local authorities. In each of our meetings, we should have a security agency from the office of the RDC, from the office of the DSOs, and so on. But still, the questions keep lingering. Yes, they keep lingering, like I told you. Then the other big challenge is the problem is much bigger than we can bite. Yeah. The problem of young people is much, much bigger. We have now reached a point where we say we are happy. We might claim to have contributed to what we call the atmosphere and peace we currently have in the region. When I say peace, I don't mean that there is actually total peace. I mean that there is a silence of violence. There is no violence happening. There might be other things which are affecting people's peace, but the violence which we set to solve, at least we are happy to claim that we have been a part of that solution. But unemployment is still a very big burden. And we have seen it severally, that where there is unemployment, where there is insufficient incomes, where there is a problem of people worried of whether they are going to reach tomorrow or not, it makes people more violent and makes them impatient. And they take up arms or go to the streets and then cause mayhem. So for us, those are the biggest challenges. The other challenge might be, we might call it contemporary, because it is just inbuilt within the donor world. You will see a call for proposal, and it's very interesting, and it is something that you can work on, but it is restricted. They say you can only do this in the following region. You can't do this in the other region. And then you see where they're asking you to go, for you are very certain with your statistics that the problem is actually here, not there. Or even sometimes they will play around with the numbers and say, if you're to do this project, you have to have a particular number of beneficiaries. And at the end of the day, we end up failing. And because we don't want to fail the bad fail, we fail by not attempting.
Mr. Farouk, I might have forgotten something during our chat, but right now I'm going to give you an opportunity to say something. If there is anything you want to tell the world with hope or what, I'm just giving you this opportunity. Say something.
Thank you very much. One thing that I would want to say actually is calling upon more hands to the job. We know that several institutions, several organizations have the capability of working and supporting these kind of initiatives, be it through giving us volunteers, interns, to study and learn and help us better understand the challenges we are dealing with, be it supporting us with grants to be able to sustain the work we do, but also being able to connect us with other like-minded institutions out there. There might be some other youth organizations out in the world which work in similar areas. We would be very, very happy to have that kind of collaboration, because we believe that the more hands on the job, the bigger the output and outcome of our programs. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you too, Mr. Farouk. And right now, you have had my chat with Mr. Farouk. You are the founder of Great Lakes. Professionalism, trust, you find it here. Thank you so much.